All right, guys, we are back with another episode of Shattered Darkness. This is episode 51, and if you guys listened last week, we started Elliot Osteroos' story. Elliot has been our producer on the podcast for a couple months now, and has just stepped into the role of a co-host as well. So we're going to finish up Elliot's story today. So I just want to welcome Elliot. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. So a couple of housekeeping items. First, I just want to say thank you to our sponsor. As you guys know, we're in a new location, shooting in a new area. We are in the basement of the Love Shack Mocktail Bar on 4th Street in downtown Loveland. So these guys are our first official corporate sponsor. Super exciting. Obviously, the space is amazing. So we're very grateful. But just want to give a plug to our sponsor. So the Love Shack Mocktail Bar in downtown Loveland, 120 East 4th Street, is the only mocktail bar in northern Colorado, and they are running all kinds of awesome events. The space is huge. There's pool tables, games. You can rent rooms out for all kinds of stuff. So the staff is amazing. The ownership is amazing, and it's just honestly an incredible space and promoting sobriety. So we greatly appreciate the sponsorship and want to support Love Shack as much as we can. So come on down, try a cocktail. I got great coffee too. You can work here, just hang out. Like I said, it's a really great environment. So we just want to say thank you so much to Love Shack for providing this space. I also want to give a shout out to somebody that left a comment on one of our shorts. We had a comment left by a guy named Bjorn Anderson, and he just celebrated 10 years sober. I believe it was December 4th. So I want to give you a huge shout out, bro. That's amazing. Congratulations on 10 years. And dude, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for commenting, following, just honestly giving us confirmation that we're having an impact. So anyways, Bjorn, I just want to say thank you, dude. Like, we have asked people to leave comments and engage with us. So we want to go one step farther. And if you are listening to this episode, we would like you to reach out to us on social media. You can find my personal page on Facebook. It's Mitch Benner. Shoot me a message. And, dude, I would love to sit down and talk with you and see if you'd be willing to come on and share your story on the podcast. So anyways, if you hear this, please reach out. We'd love the opportunity to sit down with you and hear your story. So thank you so much, dude, and congratulations on a decade. That is unbelievable. So with that, we're going to get into the rest of Elliot's story. So if you guys remember, we left kind of a cliffhanger. Elliot kind of told the beginning of his story and was kind of getting into the catalyst of, really the crux of his story. So we're just going to let him continue and have that conversation. So thank you, brother. I'm excited.
Thanks, Mitch. First off, I want to apologize to all of our audio listeners. I tried a new recording method last week, and it did not work out how I thought it would. So we're back to the old method now.
Hey. Trial and error, right?
Yeah. So this one should be a lot better with the audio. But yeah, see the cliffhanger I left it on.
You were just about to get into that moment that shit got bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad, at that point. I guess just kind of a recap if any listeners or watchers didn't watch part one, please go watch part one. But I was an alcoholic for 15 years pretty heavily. Really got seriously alcoholic at the end of it, probably the last 2 years of that. And my story did not start with alcohol. It started with cannabis, and then slowly shifted into alcohol. Cannabis got me in my head. Alcohol got me out of my head.
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes not so great way. It started out great, did not end so great.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that had passed away from, I believe it was alcohol, but I'm not exactly sure.
How old were you guys?
He was in his 50s.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was 29?
Okay.
30? Yeah.
So this
30.
wasn't that long ago.
No. That me finding out that he had passed away, that happened in June of 24.
Okay. Jeez, man.
24? Yeah.
Okay.
And then
what was he to you? Like friend? Like what was your guys' relationship?
I would say he was a brother for sure. Like, he showed me a lot of stuff and got me into video production because of the projects that we shot with toy model making and all of that.
What was his name again?
Rob Romash. Yeah, if you look him up online, he has a ton of stuff. He's a world-class medal winner, gold winner on a lot of different free flight, rubber band powered airplanes.
That's cool.
He's made a lot of the Matchbox cars.
I don't remember you saying that.
Yeah. Just an incredible, very precise person.
Yeah. So, do you know what happened? It says you think it was alcohol, but
I think it was alcohol because he had expressed that he wasn't drinking. He was having some personal challenges in his life, and he just was not handling that well. I know that he had expressed to me that I don't think he was completely forefront with the challenges he was having. And I think he was drinking far more than what he let on. So, yeah. Essentially, I found out that he passed, and then I went on kind of a bender. I was already drinking a ton, but there was a day in July, I think it was the middle of July of 24, I just really blew it up.
What was your mindset going into that? Like, fuck it?
It's hard to describe it because it wasn't so much words, it was more like a feeling. Yeah. And when I get that feeling now, I have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a fuck it feeling, but it's also it's like bubbling resentment, but not like burning, because I think everybody who's struggled with addiction knows what a burning resentment feels like versus a bubbling one. And so I think where I left off is that I had bought a fifth of flavored vodka and then 1099 shooters, drank them all, called back all those emergency services that I had tried to call to get help or to get a welfare check on him, and had a long, I don't really like calling it a standoff, but it was a long moment with the police, probably 3 or 4 hours, and kept telling them to get a warrant. Well, they did get a warrant. They came and arrested me at my work. I had 7 misdemeanors hanging over my head at that point, and went to jail. They let me go. Obviously.
How long were you there?
Bail, or I don't know, like 2 days, day and a half. Wasn't that long, but.
Do you think it was more just to get you sober?
I think it was. No, I don't think so, because I did see a judge and they did. Okay. They did tell me the charges that I was facing.
So they actually did charge you?
Yeah. So when I got out, I had a protection order against alcohol, an inanimate object, which was funny to me. I did not realize that it was actually a protection order. Are you serious? Yeah. So later on in this story, I got a job at a fine dining restaurant in the town I was living in. And I was like, this is it. This is the next step, because I worked in kitchens for like 5 years. I was like, this is the next step in my career. Not a lot of people get this opportunity. And what happened was I ultimately drank. I had court that morning, and I was nervous, and I started drinking. I had a fifth of 99 that I didn't even buy. Somebody else bought it for me, and I was like, because I knew I wasn't supposed to be in the liquor store, so I would recruit my friends to go to the liquor store for me, And he gave me this fifth, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna get in trouble with this. I knew it from the moment he gave it to me. I was like, fuck. So that Monday, had court, started drinking, went over to my parents' house and tried to cook food for them. Then I had to go to work. So I went to work, and the chef immediately knew that I was drunk. She came up to me. She has a French accent, she came up to me. She's like, you're drunk, you need to leave. I'm like, no, I'm not, of course,
Was there how did that feel in that moment? Like that? I'm just curious.
Well, I was really drunk. I mean, I was very intoxicated at that point. So I don't really think the feeling really hit me until I got back home. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, I just fucked it up. And the next day I came in and just kind of like didn't say much to anybody, just kind of started doing my thing. And I got called into the office by the two chefs, and they ultimately let me go. I have I have a background in sales as well, so I pulled everything out of the book, trying to like negotiate. They did say that they would think about it for a day, but ultimately they let me go. And through that, the sheriff's department in town found out about it, and a day later they were at my house arresting me again.
Dude, you know what's crazy though? Like in a lot of people's stories, we hear a lack of accountability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like they didn't get in trouble when they should have.
Right.
And this is different, right?
Yeah.
Like you actually did get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so I just want to highlight that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and I consider myself very lucky because for what I did over those 15 years, I could be in prison right now.
So the police showed up to your house, arrested you.
Yeah, it was funny. He showed up and I was like, I haven't been drinking, right? Because I didn't really know much about UAs because I'm like, if I'm not breathalyzed, how are they going to know I'm drinking? Well, I had some A&A beers on top of the dishwasher in this cabin, and he's like, there's beers right there. And I'm like, sir, those are non-alcoholic beers. He's like, oh, you're right. So anyway, they took me, to jail, and they were booking me in. And the officer was like, and your mom is your mom is so-and-so. And I was like, I kind of smiled at him. I looked at him. I was like, we've been hanging out too much, dude. And he was stone-faced when he arrested me. But I cracked a smile out of him. Yeah, I was like, all right, I'll take that as a win.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was in jail. My parents were going on a trip to Norway in 3 days.
That's convenient.
For a month.
God.
And nobody would bail me out because they're like sick of my shit, essentially. You know, I was like, it's $100 to bail me out, dude.
Like, come on.
Yeah. And so while I was in jail, there was a book. I had some cellmates there, and they were all cool guys.
How long were you there?
Just, I don't know, a day and a half, 2 days of it. But I was very much facing the fact inside my mind of like, I might be here for 30 days. Yeah. I was just emotionally and physically bracing myself for that thought and that realization of like, holy shit, I might be here for 30 days.
And that's a fucking crazy mental transition.
Yeah.
Like that is just pure, like you're digging into the darkest places to find strength,
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I know how that feels, and yeah, it's wild.
It was definitely an experience, and it was an experience because one of my cellmates, they have books in jail and all that. He was like, hey, do you want something to read? I was like, sure. Nothing else to do in here. I'm like trying to meditate and on this cement bunk and all this stuff. And so I read this book. I've been trying to find the actual book because I want to order it because it's so important in my recovery. This one book changed my life. It was something like Motorcycles, Jesus and Faith, or some variation of that. And I was like, this isn't really something I would read normally, but there's nothing else to do here, and I'll read it. So I read through the book, and they're talking about going around and spreading, the word of Jesus and through motorcycle groups and all this kind of idea. And the last chapter in that book was about alcohol. And one of the last paragraphs in that book said, if you make a pact with God that you'll never drink again, he'll give you whatever you want. And that was the first, I shouldn't say first, but it was such a huge spiritual experience for me to read that. I just felt this energy come over me.
Kind of like you were like, dude, there was hope.
It wasn't even hope. It was because before I was in jail, I couldn't see myself with it, and I knew I couldn't keep doing what I was doing, but I also didn't know how to get out of it because I'd been to rehab before. I don't trust authority. I was like, this is just a big money grab thing, organization. And when I read that, it was an emotional and energetic change came over me, and it was finally like the realization I don't have to do this anymore. And I know what I want to strive for in life. And this is it right here. What I just read.
Like a spiritual awakening almost.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I love that you're able to truly identify that. I've asked that question to quite a few AA groups of what did that look like? You know, because I'm curious. Like, I think that a lot of people are confused by what that means.
Yeah.
You know, and so the fact that you're able to put that into words, you know, and really, well, you can't put that emotion and that feeling, right?
No.
It's just this ultimate shift.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this 180, dude. And I mean, now I know why in the Christian religion they call it being born again.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
because it's just like this reawakening of your soul and your spirit. And it's crazy, dude. And everything is so fucking clear.
Yeah.
About where you're going, what direction you're headed. And that was the same thing with my spirit. It was a dream, but it was so vivid and so clear.
Yeah.
It was undeniable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool, dude. I love that.
Yeah, it just hit me so hard, and I think it was just a cataclysmic shift within myself, emotionally and spiritually, that I realized, like, I cannot do this anymore. Otherwise, I'm going to continue showing up right here.
Dude.
It's something else that really hit me was, I won't go into the details of it, but a year before all this happened, in July, I was in jail a year before. And I realized that I was in, to the date, 1 year. 1 year ago, I was sitting in this exact bunk, in this exact jail, on this exact day.
That's crazy.
And that hit me really hard, too. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I've never been to jail, you know, like, I've been to jail 3 times now.
Right.
In a year. And before that, nothing. Never got in trouble outside of, like, I don't even think I've gotten a speeding ticket.
That's crazy.
And it hit me so hard, and I realized that I had to change. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had to shift something in my life. And reading that paragraph in that book truly changed my life. So, apologize, I don't remember what the author was. Like I said, I'm trying to find that book. I've even thought about going to the jail.
If anybody knows, was it a big book, a little book?
It's probably about that thick.
If anybody knows what that is, reach out and let us know, because that would be sweet if we could figure that out.
I've even thought about going back to the jail and being like,
you should.
What books do you all have? Because there was a book that you guys had that changed my life. And I just want to know what the name of it is.
So I just want to say this really. You should do that. You should go back to the police officers that arrested you and thank them. Yeah. So this is something that I heard in, do you know who Damon West is? Mm-hmm. So he's a motivational speaker, but dude, he was, in his shit, he was breaking into people's houses and stealing their shit.
Okay.
So he ends up going to prison.
Yeah.
But, oh God, dude, I just totally blanked. Jesus Christ. You have to cut that out because I just totally blanked out what I was going to say.
Spiritual awakening, went to jail, prison, had a spirit, like, read something.
Yeah, dude, I totally lost it. All right, cut that out.
You love it, right? You get so excited about something.
I know, and I wasn't. But that's like Damon West. He's a motivational speaker and huge name now, like Ed Milet, you know, like that level. And but he spent 7 years in prison, you know, and had to fight off gangs and things like that. So it just reminded me a lot of that kind of story. But yeah.
Yeah, so eventually got bailed out.
I remember I was going to that. He ended up going back and thanking all the police officers.
Oh, okay.
That arrested him. So he went back and did like a public speaking thing for the police officers that had arrested him and put him in jail.
Yeah.
So, and then he personally went back and thanked them all. And it was just really cool. Like, you know, I don't think that police probably ever see that, you know?
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting because as I was going through the court system from all of this, my final court date, this is skipping ahead a bit, I had told my lawyer that I was like, this is the thing I needed to get sober.
Yeah.
And the lawyer brought that up to the judge, or no, the judge brought it up to me because the lawyer must have told the DA. And like, you know, I mean, they're all talking to each other, you know, right. That's why you get a lawyer, because they're connected and they know these people. Yeah. And the lawyer asked me about it. I said, absolutely, Your Honor. This is the thing that has changed my life. And I apologize for the pain and suffering that I have caused others through that. You know, not just the officers that had to deal with me, but the people, the family, the friends, the coworkers, bosses, jobs, people on the road, random people that don't know me and I didn't know them. You know, there's some amends that I could not make amends for.
Right.
But that's why, in AA, they say make a living amends.
Right.
And I feel like I am making a living amends now for those who I cannot make amends to and apologize to. I'm doing my best to live a better way than what I was.
Yeah.
And, to the family, to my family and coworkers and friends, I have done a lot of those amends. It's interesting when you go through the steps of AA, you go through it, you be thorough and honest. And then once you get through it, you go back and do it again.
Do it all over again, yeah.
Right. But the second time, you're never going to run out of people because once the first, it's like onions, right? Like the first layer is done, then there's another layer, and you start thinking about the people that weren't like the top, but like the next level,
right? And
then the next level and the next level.
Dude, and that's life. I think that's a really good picture of life in of itself, because it's never going to be easy, and that's the thing that like I think I've realized through all of this is like you just got to pick your heart.
Yeah.
And it's like, what kind of outcome do you want in your life? And it's like, if you want to be a drunk piece of shit, I don't think anybody's standing in your way.
Yeah.
But you're probably going to end up doing that by yourself and end up in jail or dead.
Yeah.
But it's just like, that's life. Like it's never promised to us. It's never meant to be easy. Even sober, dude, I've gone through some of the hardest shit that I've gone through in my life.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I spent 7 years breaking my wife.
Yeah.
Emotionally, verbally, like just, I was a horrible human being, right? Like there's a lot of broken shit there.
Yeah.
And to uncover that is heartbreaking.
It takes a lot of courage. And it takes a lot of like staying with yourself and digging through the mess. In AA, they say that you need to clean up your side of the street. I think the fourth, and I think it's the sixth, where you admit all of your everything, essentially everything that you've ever done to a sponsor,
right,
in front of a sponsor and God. That's cleaning up the inside of your house, the side that nobody sees. So I got out of jail, and I knew like I didn't have a job. My parents were leaving. I didn't even have my dogs because they were going to be boarded for 30 days, Yeah. Well, they set up boarding, actually, because they thought I was going to be around. But then they were like, we don't know what's going on with this. So they set up boarding for them to be taken care of. And it was a Sunday. My lawyer called me. I was like, he works on a Sunday? That was the first thing I thought.
Right.
Shout out to Jeremy Lowe. Thank you. He's a boss. If you need a good lawyer for DUIs, DVs, or being an idiot while you're drunk, Jeremy's definitely your guy.
We promote avoiding that.
Yes. Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's like what Better Call Saul and Better Call Saul, he says, don't drink and drive, kids, but if you do, call me.
Call me, exactly. Yeah, that's Jeremy.
Yeah. I don't know if you'd appreciate that promo, but no, he's an awesome lawyer.
That's good.
Absolutely phenomenal. But he called me on a Sunday, and my parents were trying to get me to go to rehab again. And he called me. He's like, you need to go to rehab, Elliot. It's your life. You need to get this under control.
Dude, what? That? Fuck yeah.
And while I was in jail for the second time, well, third time technically, but the second time within this situation, Jeremy also came in clutch because while I was in jail, I didn't know that if you break a protection order, it's not linked to your original court case. It creates another court case. So I was like, oh, this is just like an extension of all the problems I have. No, it's a whole nother set of problems now, even though they're connected. And the judge, while I was in jail, was like, does the, I don't remember the verbiage she used, does the individual whose the protection order was broken against want to say anything? And in my head, I'm laughing. I'm like, it's a bottle.
It's alcohol.
It's alcohol. Yeah, they're not going to say.
Don't leave me.
Yeah, exactly. But Jeremy came in really clutch because I, talked to my mom while I was in there, and I told her, you need to call Jeremy and tell him what happened, and I need help. He actually came on that call without any kind, I did not know that it was a separate court case, but he came on anyway, negotiated with the judge as a friend for me, and they let me out.
That's crazy.
So Thank you, Jeremy. You changed my life, like truly.
That's awesome. And dude, that's like, do you really think that's coincidence? You know, you have this massive spiritual awakening in jail and then, you know, basically a clean slate.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Not. It was not a coincidence. I think that there has been something that has been watching over me and giving me little pushes here and there. And I never hit the gas hard enough to get outside of the push. I was always kind of within the safety barriers, but I got awfully close. My vehicle of life was definitely getting scratched and dinged and beat that shit up.
That's the crazy thing too. Like, there's a purpose, right? There's a purpose for your life, and obviously, like, something that in that situation protected you for a reason. Yeah, I really believe in that. You know, I truly believe that we were put here for a reason. It's our job to discover what that is.
Yeah.
Right? And then pour it back out into the world.
Yeah.
You know, so that's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. Or good. I'm so thankful for that. You know, I had a family member ask me like, "Oh, did you really have to go into detail about that or this?" And I'm like, I'm open about my story. Because I think when people see me now, they don't realize the shit that I've been through. And it wasn't like external stuff, right? It's so easy when you're in addiction to take all of these things that are happening externally to you and say, well, it was this person or that event or this. But really, no, I was just drunk all the time and I did not have my God-given foresight and process of thinking through those events properly to work through them. It was always something bad happens, alcohol. Something good happens, alcohol. It's raining, alcohol. It's snowing, alcohol. It's sunny outside. Oh, let's go outside and drink. You know, it was like, it didn't need to be bad or good. The answer was always alcohol.
Right.
You know, they say alcohol wasn't the problem, it was the solution. When I first heard that, I told my brother that. He's like, you're full of shit. It was the problem. I'm like, no, Eli.
Yeah.
It was the solution.
For me, the drinker, the alcoholic, right? It is the solution. It is the thing that numbs the pain, the anxiety, the depression, the anger, whatever it is.
And ups the good.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And it just completely sweeps all that shit under the rug. Mm-hmm. And you know, dude, and the fucking crazy thing about all of this, I started drinking when I was 19 years old. I'm 39. I'll be 40 in April. That's 20 years as an adult, dude, that I never had a sober mind.
Yeah.
20 fucking years.
Yeah.
And I never knew, right? Never knew. And now coming out of that, like, it's crazy, dude. I'm losing memories of the last 20 years and remembering things prior to drinking. And starting to identify more with that person.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
It's wild, bro.
Yeah. And I think an important part of recovery is digging into that past of like what caused me to make or to decide that alcohol was the solution for me. Like what was the culmination of events that all came together? How was I feeling? What was I running away from? What didn't I want to face? What was going on inside of me emotionally, physically, that caused me to reach for that?
See, and that's what I feel like that's exactly what you just said is what I've always tried to hone in on with our guests, right? Like what kind of emotional state were you in? What kind of background did you have, right? Like what kind of environment, what kind of kid were you? Did you get made fun of at school?
Yeah.
All of these things feed into our identity.
Yeah.
Right? And how, like, naturally, so I'm a naturally mildly bipolar with a mood disorder is what they told me. Right. So it's just like extreme highs, extreme lows. And it's, dude, I can track it. It was like every 3 months I would go through these manic episodes where I'd just fucking freak out, you know? And it's just like, I think it is important to draw that entire picture. And dude, maybe that's the thing that we feel like, what is that picture? Right? Because it's going to be individual. It's going to be so different. Are there similarities? Absolutely. And this is something too, it's like we're generalizing billions of people probably into this one category of an alcoholic and putting one label on it.
Yeah.
Right? And one thing and saying, we're going to categorize you here. But it's like, dude, there's billions of individual stories inside of that.
Yeah.
Right? And there's things that we can learn about trauma, our brains, how we operate, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we just haven't dug into it.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like, and that's the toughest part of recovery. Getting sober was easy.
I agree.
Staying sober was hard. That was the harder part, because eventually when you get off the pink cloud, which we actually have a room here at Love Shack called the Pink Cloud.
It's awesome.
I'll throw up an image of it on the screen.
It's cool.
But once you get off that pink cloud of like, I'm sober, I'm doing it, I've never done this before, and once reality starts setting back in, you're still left with all those emotions that you were running away from for however many years, right? And the challenge with recovery is to sit down and really, I like to call it like you're sitting in the forge of yourself, and you have to turn that heat up as high as you can and burn away everything that is not truth.
Damn.
Everything that you thought was true. Question everything. And that's tough, especially when you're already in a new environment inside of yourself, because now you're sober, right? All of your old coping mechanisms are no longer there. Your friends most likely are not there, because guess what? You have to change everything. The only thing you have to change with recovery is everything. And that's what I did. Getting back to the timeline of, so Jeremy called me. I spent, I don't know, a good like 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out how I could not go to rehab again. And I just had this, it's just a feeling here that I get. I'm like, I have to do it. There's no way around it, And so I went to North Point. I'd actually almost gone to North Point before this point. I had something happen. I don't even remember what it was. And I remember I was in my car crying and yelling at my parents that I want to go back to rehab. They drove me all the way up to Loveland, all the way to North Point. And I stood at the doors and I said no. So we drove all the way back. They were not happy. It's a 3.5 hour drive for anybody who doesn't know.
That's an all-day event.
Yeah, it was. So I did finally, I packed everything up and I went to North Point. And I knew what I was getting into, second time around. North Point was a much more beneficial experience for me.
Sure.
Because I was ready. I did not go there for anybody else but myself.
Yeah.
Kind of the court system, because I knew that it would help me in court. But I also knew I had to make a change, and I just kept thinking about what I read in jail. I was like, I have to make a change. I have to do a lot of things to change. If you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got. And I knew I had to change it and do things that I didn't want to do and that I wasn't comfortable doing. North Point was a better experience for me because it wasn't a massive rehab.
True.
It's very like well established. It's not new or anything, but it wasn't 70 plus, 100 plus people there. It was a group of about 25.
That's awesome.
And when you have 25 to 35 people there, you brush shoulders with everybody there over the month. And I met the most amazing group of people in there.
I actually will plug that place too, because that place changed my life.
Yeah.
It helped a lot.
Yeah. And they
What about it? Obviously, the being ready part is huge. Mm-hmm. If you're going in closed off, like that's never going to work. So I think that and obviously the mental work of like going through all of this stuff and being like, okay, like this is fucked up. That's going to have to change. That's going to have to change. That's going to have to change. Because, dude, I didn't do that because I was like, if I start to list all this stuff out, I'm going to get overwhelmed. Yeah. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm going 6 inches in front of me. Like, what's the next battle I got to fight?
Yeah.
And so that worked for me. But yeah, dude, that place it was different for sure. And I was very standoffish for probably 2 or 3 weeks. Didn't say a whole lot. And I remember one of my counselors was just like, why the fuck are you here? Yeah. Like, you literally wrote us a check, and so it was just like, I think that kind of helped and kind of made things click. And then you meet all kinds of people, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Different walks of life.
Yeah, and it's so interesting when I first went into rehab and the second time, those people that I met, I felt like I already knew them.
Yep.
And it's because it's almost like this internal tie that's between addicts. And I think you mentioned this in my part 1, where that's why Beyond the Buzz, you created it. Partially why you created it is because there's already a connection there. Well, you walked through hell and came out. So have I. We have that in common, and that's like a bond. I was never in the military, but I can imagine that it would almost be like
it's a trauma bond, dude.
Yeah, it is.
And that's
a healthy one.
Exactly, right? And it's like, hey, we've both identified all this fucked up shit in our life, right? And we don't want that. We want to move in this other direction. It's a very unique bond.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that too, because I was talking to a lender the other day, and he was like, dude, I just got to ask, like, how do you lead in this industry with sobriety? And I'm like, I don't give a shit what people think, And I was like, I live for my sober community. That's it, dude. Like, and I love real estate. I love serving people in that aspect, but that has become a vehicle to drive the passion, dude. And and that's what I told him. I was like, and then we get into this conversation, bro, where he's just telling me all this shit about his life. And I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, where else can you find that? I've never met this dude ever, and it's just like, and we have that instant connection.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that things like Beyond the Buzz could be so powerful, because it's automatic, and then it's just like, all right, how do we support each other? How do we move forward?
Yeah.
And there's no fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, they absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll stop swearing. I know we're not supposed to do that.
No, it's okay.
I get fired up, dude. But
I mean, that's another thing that I've noticed with addicts. Everybody swears in recovery. Well, it's very rarely I meet people that don't. And if they do, they have like 20 years.
When you get drugged through hell on earth, or you drag yourself through hell on earth, and you come out of that, swearing is not that big of a fucking deal.
No.
I'm like, it's not like.
And I think also the reason why I heard this when I was in rehab, I think it's from AA. The reason why a lot of addicts believe in the devil is because they've stared him in the face.
Fuck yeah. I think it was, this is David Bowie. He said spirituality is for people that have been through hell. Religion is for people that are afraid of it. And it's like that relationship with God has to be real, or that actually, it has to be more tangible than this thought, than this. Dude, and that's why there's so much power in this, what we've labeled as an issue, a problem. It's like, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's a signal of like, hey, this could be a very, powerful person if we can get them to go this direction.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean?
I'm happy you brought that up, because I was talking to somebody who's been on this podcast actually, and I asked her, I was like, do you think that the most powerful people in the world, if their life did not turn out how it did, do you think they would be addicts? Because in a way they are addicted to
something,
their grind, to their mission.
Right.
And I was talking to my sponsor, I think he mentioned it to me. If you have an addict on an island with no drug or alcohol, are they really an addict? Or do they just have great survival skills? Because we will do anything to survive. We did those things. We did anything to get our DOC, drug of choice, for people who aren't familiar with that term. We did anything we could to get that DOC.
Put ourselves in danger.
Put ourselves in danger, put other people in danger, some of us stole, some of us, and I don't want to speak for others, but
we did some bad things to get what we wanted.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're saying you don't think that personality trait goes away. You remove the alcohol, the personality trait's still there.
Yes.
I agree.
100%.
I agree. Yeah. And it's this, and as you go through self-reflection, the word narcissist kept coming up in my mind, and it's like, I'm not narcissistic, but I'm very selfish.
Okay.
And
tell me more.
So it's just like the way my brain operates, dude. Mm-hmm. The first thing I will think about is me.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, well, this isn't what I want. right? And then I'll go push into it farther. And sometimes it affects my mood. Dude, I could be in a great situation with my children and I'm not happy because I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like now I've got to manufacture this happiness, right? And it fucking sucks, man.
So I'm actually happy you brought that up because that's a complicated concept in general, because I think the word narcissism is thrown around
Too loosely,
way too much. I mean, everybody knows both genders, or if you don't identify with gender, whatever, everybody knows somebody who says, well, they were narcissist. Well, only about 1% to 2% of the entire population are true narcissists.
Right.
So either you're the most unlucky person, a group, like everybody I run into is the most unlucky people in the world, right? That every single relationship they've ever had is with a narcissist. Or that term is just so loosely thrown around, like what we said. And I think thinking of yourself is important, because I think what happens for me in recovery was that partially why I got into drugs and alcohol, I think, is that I was thinking about everybody else. I said I cared deeply what others thought about me early on in my life. I cared deeply about how others felt. Maybe not even about me. And it's such a fine line. It's so fine because, yes, you don't want to be going around being an ass to everybody. But there is a certain, this ties into boundaries, right? You have to be able to set boundaries for yourself, so that because everybody has their own things that they struggle with, right? And I think thinking of yourself and what's best for you without hurting others is good. That's a good trait to have. And that being selfish to a degree can be beneficial, especially in early recovery. Well, it's important in early recovery because you have to be selfish, because you cannot go out and rescue people. That's what I did early on in recovery after I got out of rehab. Me and a friend were going out and trying to save people that were, just weren't ready. Yeah. And what that does is it hurts your own recovery. It hurts what you're trying to accomplish, because your focus can only go in one direction at a time. You can really only focus on one thing at a time. And when you're putting all this massive amounts of emotional, physical, and spiritual energy into somebody else trying to save them when they don't really want it. I don't even like saying that because people will say that they want it, but I don't help people now unless they come to me explicitly and say, I need help. I do not go to people and say, let me help you. Well, this worked for me.
There's two versions of everybody.
Of course.
And there's a version that gets shown and seen, and there's always a version that just doesn't get talked about.
Yeah, mask.
Exactly, and that's the version that we're trying to uncover in this dark basement. Of like, okay, let's go one step farther, dude. Like, you're not alone in this, right? Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty. I can point out hundreds of people that are guilty of the same thing, but I think that is a good reflection, dude, because it is hard. You're right. And things in our brains, it's like, this is something like I've had to give my wife grace because I can grasp onto a concept and implement it immediately. Right. And so it's like, I learned something today. It's now reality tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. And my wife is very different. She has to think about things.
Yeah.
Right. She has to mold. It's got to go head to heart and here and there. And that process for me is very quick. Because of the self-awareness, right? Because of the years of selfishness, of focusing on myself. And so, and again, to the listener, I agree with you. Selfishness is absolutely required.
Initially.
Exactly. On the onset, right? Yes. And so, and I think as we grow away from that, we grow into that other person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that person of service, that person of okay, now my cup is full and overflowing. Now I can pour out into these, but you've got to go, like you said, you've got to go put those pieces in place first.
Yeah, because if your own house is a mess, how are you going to go over to your neighbors and help them clean up theirs?
And don't get that twisted with the fact that if you're in a broken place, you can still do good things.
Yeah.
Right? That's what, I always love in the Bible, God uses very broken people. right? Like, so I want to highlight that too. Like, don't allow this to cause you to not so good into the world, right?
Yeah.
But just focus on those opportunities, do that, but focus on yourself too. Like, and that is highly, highly important.
Yeah, and I think that's looked down upon in society. Focusing on yourself is looked down upon. And it's hard for me to like get into this without going on about it for like 20 minutes because it's so ingrained into everything.
Man.
The news, music, media. I mean, it's just like give yourself away, right? And even that isn't correct.
Nope.
It's be selfish initially. And when you put yourself back together, as you put yourself back together, and you can't do it alone. I believe that you cannot do it alone. I was not able to. I was able to mess it all up by myself, but I needed support from other peers, mentors, counselors, whatever.
Yeah.
Health professionals, lawyers.
Still to this day, dude, 2 years in, I still, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very prevalent in my life.
And as things start to come back together in your life, you will discover that you will have the capacity to be selfless.
Yes. Yes.
And because you cannot have somebody else's recovery hinder your own.
Right.
But at the same time, there's a lot of paradoxes in recovery. It will come. I just did it again. I got so excited. I forgot what I was going to say. You cannot let somebody else's recovery hinder your own. You have to put yourself back together so that, like what you said, you have to have the cup that you can pour out. And it's not, you have to be in a state where that cup will be refilled naturally and quickly. Because when you're on the pink cloud, your cup's overflowing, you want to help everybody, it's overflowing, and eventually will start to slow down. Somebody in rehab, he was one of the techs there, he taught a class, and he said, when you first get sober, it's going to look like this. You're going to go up. A lot of growth, short period of time. And it's going to go up, 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 and then you're going to reach a plateau. Mm-hmm. And what's going to happen is you're going to level out, and you're going to have to do 2 to 3 times as much stuff to get this much growth. And this, at the top of that arc, that's where most people fail.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh shit, I'm not on that pink cloud anymore. Right. And so then they'll go back out, they'll do, whatever. I don't like speaking for others, but I've seen this with friends that I've met in recovery now, where they will crash it. And there's an addiction cycle that can happen with that in itself. Right. That addiction of growing rapidly and then plateauing, and then you crash it. And they don't do it purposefully, I don't think. I don't think anybody does it purposefully. It's not like, oh, I'm at the top now, it's time to fuck it all up.
Dude, you know what's crazy though? Actually, you say that, and I look at my life right now. In September, we moved real estate companies. Mm-hmm. Did it 2 years ago. Started in Greeley, just moved my office again. And I'm telling myself these are out of conveniences, but maybe it's that, dude. Maybe there's an element of that where it's like the excitement of something new.
The dopamine curve.
And it's like, I've never even really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Because when it's time to get to the grind, it's like, fuck.
Yeah. And especially when you're into that grind for a while. Life gets boring, dude. I'll admit it, life gets boring. But I've found that the neutrality is the best place to be. Neutrality is where I am able to come up with my best ideas. It's like, I'm not happy, I'm not sad. I'm just here, I'm being present. Being present is so important.
I agree.
Because I found myself in early recovery after I got out of rehab that I was there. I would look forward to this thing, and then I would be there, and then I'd say in my head, What's next? Yeah. Instead of enjoying what I'm doing.
I still do that shit.
I
still do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, we went to Great Wolf Lodge, dude, and I was driving my fucking wife nuts. And she's like, bro, shut up. Like, just be in the pool. And I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about the next thing.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a skill. Recovery Dharma is a recovery kind of group that isn't as well known as AA.
Yeah.
But it talks about that. To just be here now in the present. And if you find yourself like spiraling out, either good or bad, to just bring yourself back. the only thing that we ever really have is now.
Yeah.
And the only thing we ever truly have is our breath. The only thing we can really control.
I know. It's crazy, right? Like, and you boil it all back down to that, and you're like, oh shit, what am I so freaked out? Like, what am I freaking out?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's so true. And I like that you said you can spiral both ways too. You know, because I've experienced that in sobriety, right? Of like this pure excitement where I'm like, you know, you're like, hey, you should not talk over our guests, you know? And so it's just like, I get that for sure. And it's wild too, because it's like, I'll come home and my wife's like, all right, what kind of mindset are you in?
Right.
You know, and she's like got to mentally prepare herself for the version of me that she might get. Because I might be extremely excited and just want to change everything in her life. You know, but usually it's something daily where I'm like, hey, I was thinking about this, you know, what do you think? And she's like, can we deal with what you talked about yesterday? Yeah, dude, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm like struggling with that a little bit.
Yeah, you know, in Recovery Dharma, they talk about, I mean, Dharmic principles in general say that the root of all suffering is desire.
Yeah. Damn.
When I first heard that from my mom, it's like, that's bullshit.
Dude,
You have to desire stuff, right?
So much fun, but there's a difference between desire and I don't know. The word desire to me is like pleasure. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think of like pleasure, and like when I think of that, it's like, okay, we're going down a.
Well, let's go deeper into that. Why do we desire things if not for pleasure?
True.
And we tell ourselves.
Well, let me ask you this: I guess what's the intention behind it?
True.
You know, where's the intention lie? Is the intention pure? Or is it not? Right. And so maybe that's the root of it. You know.
Yeah.
Is your intention, and I actually 100% that is. You know, like, and that's the difference between what people see and what goes on inside of you, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the shit that's between you and God.
Yeah.
Right? That's eternal. And those are the things, dude, because, yeah, I totally struggle with those desires, right? Like, and it's things like that, dude, where it's like, do you ever just get the, like, desire to go to, like, Ibiza and just get fucked up for 4 days?
Right, yeah.
You know, and my wife's like, nah, dude, like, not even a little bit. You know, and so, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I think also it's the addiction to chaos, you know, and when I was in rehab, they were like, you need to remove all chaos from your life. And I challenged that in the class. I was like, look, I work in a restaurant and I love that chaos.
Yeah.
The chaos, when you become familiar with enough with an environment that you're doing something that's chaotic, it becomes pleasurable. And I think that's what addiction gave us, active addiction. That's what it gives us, or gave us in that moment, was the chaos of it.
Well, it's just the inhibition to fucking do whatever you want.
Yeah,
You
absolutely. And I think personally, and also from what I've observed, everybody who struggles with addiction and is now recovering needs a certain amount of chaos in their life. There's healthy chaos and there's unhealthy chaos. And I think healthy chaos can be extremely beneficial because it's not only essentially exercising your mental processes like nature intended it, essentially. It helps you when you come across that again.
It's like
to breeze through it.
Right.
The things that seem impossible for others are a walk in the park for another group.
Boom. And you know what, dude, that right there in of itself is, I think, the benefit to addiction.
Yeah.
Right there. Is if you can realize that you're just channeling all of your energy into the wrong shit.
Yeah.
You know, into something that's killing you and not giving you life.
Yeah, and you have to channel it somewhere.
Exactly.
If you take
and that's the
something
thing,
out,
yes.
you got to put something else
totally.
back into
100%,
it.
dude. And that's exactly, like, I'm so grateful for my faith because I feel like my faith is what drove me to this. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, and I needed, like, I sat in the AA rooms for a while. I went through half the steps and it just didn't go deep enough. You know? And I was like, you're not answering my questions. You know, you're just, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, maybe over time, if I would have plugged into it, it would have worked. But I needed more, dude. Like,
Yeah, well, that's another common trait I've noticed with myself and others is It's the immediacy of stuff, right?
Totally.
We want it now.
Yes.
And we want the results, and 100%, we want it to be good.
Well, and if I'm being honest, this is where my possibly narcissistic tendencies come in, is I wanted to be in control.
Yeah.
You know, and if I'm being honest, the dark part that nobody sees, that's what I wanted, the recognition, dude. I want people to know my name. I will admit that.
Do you think that's people-pleasing?
Probably, to a degree.
No.
But I also know that there's a level of success that comes along. And, dude, I 100% know that I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
You know, and I also can respond in anger to things. So, yeah, dude, like we had this thing at a work conference this year where you write your greatest fear down and then you break it, you know. You write it on a little pine board and you snap through it. And I wrote down what I ended up writing was not having my voice be heard. But really, dude, behind that was deeper than that. I want my peers to pat me on the back.
Yeah.
I want to be recognized for the contributions that I give to society. I have to admit that, right? And you have to work through that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's probably not a good desire, you know? It's probably, it could lead me down bad paths.
It can, but it can also lead you down incredible.
Exactly. And that's where it's like, there's got to be a level of acceptance, right? And willing to break it down and understand it.
Yeah.
Right. And bring it up to things like this, to people like you know, in my life, and be like, hey man, I'm actually kind of struggling with this. Like, I'm chasing the limelight right now, and maybe I'm chasing the wrong shit.
Yeah. Well, this is an important topic because something that I struggled with, the first third and a couple months into 2025, I had a life-changing event happen. I won't go into the details because it resolved itself. I think I've told you about it. But
I know what you're talking about.
I found myself being like, how can this be? This is not how it was supposed to be. This is not how I expected it to happen. Everything was perfect. Everything lined up exactly. There were so many tiny, little, minute, microscopic details that if one thing changed, this would not have happened that way. So it has to be this way. And I've struggled with the idea of God's will for like months, because I was like, God's will? Like, what, am I just supposed to sit in bed and just wait for God's will? Right. And I thought about that for months, and I was in the shit, you know, and I was really depressed. And I had like little phases, you know, of getting out of it. And I really like started to journal a lot. I started reading a lot. I started just like getting my mind charged with information.
Yep.
And I found that, like, for me personally, God's will, to me, what that means, and this is something that Dharma talks about a lot too, is all of these stories I tell myself about how things need to be and how this means that, and it's another fine line, because I do think that there's a reason why I experience certain things with certain people at a certain time in a certain way. But my perception, because perception is reality, my perception and the story I tell myself behind those things is different than others. You and I are having a different experience right now, even though we're in the same room looking at the same thing. And I found that God's will is essentially, I think it's step 2 of AA. Gave up my will and my life, or to a higher power, to the power of God, as I understand him. And that recently, in the last couple months, I realized that the stories I tell myself, most of the time, are not true. The stories up here that I tell myself, there's important distinction here. The stories I tell myself up here, the active voice that's always running in my head, except for when I'm speaking, right? That's something that I've really kind of dug into myself, of like, who is this up here versus this here talking?
Good.
The stories that I tell myself are not true. And that I have to have the belief and the faith that the universe, God, higher power, whatever you want to call it, has my best intentions in mind. Because if I say, no, that was supposed to happen that way, you want to know what that is? That's control.
Yep.
that is trying to take control of situations that I have zero control over, because guess what? They often include people, places, and things, specifically people, that I'm trying to control. I'm trying to control an outcome. When there's another whole being there with their own experiences of people, places, and things that's getting a different signal and telling themselves their own stories in their mind. And what I found that God's will is it's this internal feeling. It's an internal feeling. It's not a voice. It's not this. There are times, sometimes they're very fleeting and they're very soft. It's a very soft, like, whisper in the wind, and then it's gone. And I have to pay this. If I'm not paying attention, it passes so quickly that I'll miss it. But every time I listen to that, incredible things happen. And it's oftentimes against the facts. Why would you do that? Factually, this makes more sense. And it's that gut feeling. It's that soft voice that just flows through me. Sometimes it's an emotion, like a feeling here. And if I'm in a neutral state, I'm not like too up or too down. I'm like right in the middle. It flows easier. And I get those downloads or connections with God, higher power, the universe, more consistently. And incredible things happen. And I've done it, and people are like, I don't know how you did that. I was like, honestly, dude, I don't know either. I can tell you what I've kind of theorized of why, but I almost can't do that either, because then it'd be another form of control.
Dude, this is the thing. You're gonna bring me to tears, man, because that is the essence of faith in Christianity.
Yeah.
You know, and we live in a society that is, God is fear. You know, God is rules.
Yeah.
God is like this boundary. Dude, it is so the opposite of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it is like, it's magic in your life, dude. And to me, I don't know how you can't accept it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can't press into it, because nothing bad has ever come out of it. Ever. You know, and it's just, it's, in my opinion, it's God, dude. It's faith. Like, I live my life for that.
Yeah.
That's why we call it shattered darkness, because 90% of the world, dude, lives in this fucked up state of mind about who God is, about who they're isolated, bro. They're no community, nothing like that. And they're just left to their own devices.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, we have access to this amazing thing in Christianity and faith. And I don't even give a fuck if it's Christianity. You know, believe in something that causes you to do things that are outside of your imagination.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would add to that, you know, my biggest challenge now, because I think in part one I mentioned that I had some resentment towards religions, and I've dug into that further since then, you know, just in my time of reading books and all this. But I think a great book that has changed my life, I've read and listened to it many times, is Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh. Mm-hmm. It's about a guy that had a great, like, he was in the shits, and he started writing and journaling. He wrote a letter to God, and then he heard a response. And he wrote a 3-book, even more than that, a 3-book series. I think it was like 4 or 5 books, 6 books. I don't know. He's written a lot of books now. And all of those books are written through that process. Yeah. But there's a part in that book, in the first book, that says, you rely so much on the word of God instead of the experience. Why are you waiting? And this isn't quote, but why are you essentially waiting for the word of God when your experience says otherwise? Because we're always in communication with that thing.
Yeah.
We're always in communication. The last few days I've been like, wow, I haven't been praying very much. And I'm like, and then I realized I am. It's always there. It's always listening.
Yeah.
And it does not care what I desire.
Right.
I don't think a higher power, God, the universe, gives a shit whether I do good or bad things.
So I agree.
It's just the things.
I actually don't agree. Totally. Like, I do think it's so hard, dude, because you look at biblical characters like David, you know, one of the biggest, he was a murderer and adulteress,
Yeah.
you know, but God describes him as a man after his own heart.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that there's this understanding between us and God. Like there's a reason that Christ came to the earth and saved us from our sins, right? Because we are so broken, because we are sinners, we are unfaithful, we are, you know, but with congruence with our faith in the Lord, we find the strength that we didn't know existed inside of us to do the right things. And not only do that, dude, but to manifest heaven on earth. You know?
Yeah, and at this conversation, I shared something on my Facebook. I think it was Michelangelo, the painting of the man and God.
Yeah.
You know, with the hands, and man's fingers like this, and if you would just raise it a little bit, you could touch fingers with God.
Right.
And it's a choice.
Dude,
it's a choice to raise the finger, and we can choose that any time. Right. It's like, well, how do you do that? Well, fuck, I don't know.
You know? Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I just think that we have to lead into this space, right? And just be like, look, we realize, like, dude, I grew up in church. Religious trauma is all over my fucking life.
Yeah.
You know, I've even met with the pastor of our current church, the head pastor of a mega church. And I was like, dude, convince me to come here. These are my experiences. Why would I come here?
Yeah.
And I grew up in this stuff, and I believe in God. I believe in Christ, but I don't believe that man preaches that message correctly all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that it gets weaponized against us. And I think our generation really suffered from this. And one bad thing happened around God or religion or this and that, and we turn our back on it. Mm-hmm. You know, my girlfriend that I was in love with in high school broke up with me. I blamed God and turned my back on everything, and it started a 20-year fucking binge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's just, had I received that moment differently, right? Had I not tried to control that, had I just been like, you know what, this isn't God's plan, I probably wouldn't have gone down that road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I'll challenge even that. We wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't go down that road.
Exactly.
You know,
and that's why I really believe that predestination, no. I think that we are created with a special set of talents, and it is up to us to discover what those talents are through our relationship with Christ and then pour those out onto the world.
Yeah.
That's what I think this is supposed to look like. You know, and to share those gifts and to grow the kingdom of heaven and to share the gift of Christ and all of those things, right? Like, that is not one place in the Bible does it say God is fear, God is this. God is always love. Always.
Yeah.
From 2 Timothy 1:7, it's my favorite Bible verse.
Yeah.
You know, it says for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And my growth, I mean, I would not be here in the position I'm in without any of the experiences that I've had.
Dude, and you want another cool thing? Look at what Jesus did.
Yeah.
Look at his life. He challenged the status quo. Mm-hmm. He was a fucking rebel, dude.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
This is the way it's supposed to be. You know, and he picked tax collectors, fishermen, the shitty people, dude, in the community, right? Yeah. He didn't go to the Pharisees. He didn't go to Nicodemus. He didn't go to any of those people.
Yeah.
Right? He went to the people that had a real belief in who Christ was and the prophecy that was in the Old Testament, you know, for the Jewish people.
Well, I guess I would just challenge that in a small way. Nobody knew who Christ was at that point.
Exactly.
But at that time, nobody had spoken to them as Christ did.
Exactly.
And that was something so different to them that it created a following.
Yep.
You know?
I'm reading through the Gospels right now. You had said something like, you have to redefine everything in your life. I haven't read the Bible since I was probably in my late high school years.
Yeah.
So now I'm going back and rereading all the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and the life of Jesus, man, and with my own eyes, my own heart, and my own convictions, you know, and not what I was told.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I think that if you, listener, want to press it, like, that's where you'll really find God. It says all over the Bible, you take one step towards him, and he will open that door.
And I would even add on to that, like, because I know that there are people in recovery and listeners here that's just not their jam, right? And that's fine. That's totally fine. I was an atheist for a long time, and then I just started having experiences that I was like, there has to be something. There's something, right? Well, that's how I started with it, was there's something.
Surviving experiences that we probably shouldn't have survived.
Yeah, 100%. And there were those, I had somebody mention to me, well, what about the people that don't make it? And it's like, I'm in a position in my life where if I put myself in somebody else's shoes and say, why didn't they make it? That's a form of control.
Totally. And dude, think about this. So you lost your buddy. Very similar in 2021. I lost my best friend from high school. Mm-hmm. Right. And so but what did that do? It ignited me. Right. And so his death does have a purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And it's up to us to make their life mean something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like he died alone and, asking for help.
Yeah.
And nobody fucking helped him. And that made me so angry that I was just done with sitting on the sideline. I didn't care anymore. Mm-hmm. I was so tired of not saying what I believed and not speaking the truth and regretting that I hadn't reached out to him in years.
Yeah.
To talk to him. And maybe if I had, something was different. But I can't go down that road, right? It happened. It's a fact. It's reality.
Yeah.
My job from here on out is to live there, accept the pain, accept the loss, and then go take that, dude, and let it ignite me to make change and to bring change and to sow good things into the world.
Yeah. And a question I really asked myself a lot was like, well, what does it mean to accept pain and loss? Because I want to get through it, right? Like, I just want this to stop. I want it to end. And there's really nothing you can do but sit in it until it passes on its own. And I think that's the challenging thing about recovery is when you first get sober and you're off the pink cloud, you realize I still have all these things that I pushed away and now they're rushing back to me. And there still are phases in my recovery where I'm like, screw this, dude. This shit sucks.
100%.
And it's important to say and be honest. Screw this. Now, that doesn't mean go back out. That just means this sucks. Be honest about it. Be honest that it sucks. Because if you lie to yourself and say, this is great, when it really isn't, that just creates more
bullshit.
It does not energetically get yourself back into harmony.
Well, it's confusion. You're just introducing more. And
don't lie to yourself.
I would highly recommend that if you have a significant other, that you don't pour this shit on them.
Yeah. That's what the community for is.
Exactly. Yeah. I would highly recommend that especially if you're in a position of providing, you're kind of the breadwinner, it could be this fearful, that could bring fear into your house. Mm-hmm. Just be careful of that, because I definitely did that. I totally freaked my wife out, and she's like, well, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah.
So just, maybe find a resource or an outlet that is not, people that are relying on you.
Oh, there's tons of groups out there, man. And if you're in the boonies in a small town, or there's online meetings. I mean, if you want it bad enough, there are no excuses.
Yeah, well, I absolutely agree with you. And we're involved in some medical supplements that are really pushing mental health care out into the U.S.
Yeah.
And medications and very easy access, and just realizing this company's really realizing that our, medical system is failing. Well,
yeah. And we kind of left off that I went to rehab, and then we started talking about other stuff. So I guess listeners might be asking well, what'd you do?
Yeah.
And this, what we just talked about, is what happened.
Exactly.
Coming to realizations. Now, going into the details of how I came into that will take hours.
Right. And that's the thing, dude. We got to understand the chaos to understand how beautiful the other side of that coin is. Right. And so, listener, it's why we spend time on the chaos. One, we're trying to disarm you guys. Right. We're trying to make you feel like you're not fucking alone, dude, and you're not this fucked up, broken piece of shit, right? Yeah, you've done fucked up things. The sin is remaining in it, right? The sin is knowing different and remaining in it.
Yeah. I really liked Cash's definition of sin, which was missing the mark.
Totally.
That really hit, because I think narcissism, that is a word that is thrown around too much sometimes in some groups. And for a long time, I never understood that.
Sin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Cash's definition brought, so shout out to Cash. Case, thank you. Great episodes.
Cash is the man, dude. He's
Yeah.
been on here multiple times.
Yeah, that brought a new understanding of it to me, which is just missing the mark. And it's not even the fact that you miss, it's continuing to miss and being aware of it.
Exactly, dude. Thank you. And that is the greatest sin.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a parable in the Bible that talks exactly about this, where there's these three people that get all this money, right? And one guy buries it, one guy spends it, and the other guy invests it,
Yeah.
right? And the guy that buries it is killed or whatever. Like, he's like, the master's like, no, fuck you. Like, you didn't do that. And then the one in the middle, you know, also was like, he was killed and let go or whatever. And then the one that invested it and poured it back into the world, you know, was rewarded with all of these things. And that's the same thing, right? That's our talents, our gifts. That's what I'm talking about. It's our responsibility to understand what those are, understand what season of life you are in. Are you in a season of understanding, right? Are you in a season of growth? Are you in a season of, you know, pouring something back out into somebody else, right? You have to recognize what season you're in.
Yeah, that made me think of Chris Williams. He is one of the largest podcasters in the world. He had Jordan Peterson on, and he started off that episode. Jordan said, or Dr. Peterson said, "You are morally obligated to accomplish great things."
Yes. It's what we were created to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that everything in our world, from a spiritual sense, will push you away from that.
Oh, 100%. And you'll push yourself away from
Right.
it too. And you're morally obligated to do that because life is so incredibly challenging. And like what you said, I do believe as well that everybody has a special gift within them, that if you do not take it as a moral obligation to do great things, you will be left in a state of disarray and resentfulness. And I think that's almost by design. Like, humans need pressure. They
100%.
need pressure in their life.
100%.
I think especially addicts, but I think everybody needs a little bit of chaos. They need something to kind of have a little bit of friction, because as we talked about in or this might have been before I was on screen in the podcast, but some other episodes, friction causes growth. Growth does not occur when things are going great.
If you allow it.
If you allow it, yes. And the key to have that growth occur, at least for me that I've discovered, is don't tell yourself stories of, well, it was supposed to happen this way.
Right.
This is awful. Don't label stuff. Labeling stuff, that's where it gets, you pull yourself into two sides of like, this is great and this is bad. This is undesirable. This is desirable. That thing that didn't happen is the desirable outcome. I can't believe that didn't happen. Well, if it didn't happen, then obviously it was not the most desirable outcome, because the outcome that's actually going to occur is more than what you could even imagine.
One that you take action on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, and that's exactly, I was telling you about this dude that I've been following on Facebook. And he's like taking the word sober and saying, fuck that, dude. Like, stop putting that label on me. Mm-hmm. I'm not that person, right? Like, yes, I had these struggles. Yes, I had this. But it's that. It's once we accept a label, it's stamped, sealed, done.
Sure.
Right? You don't dig farther into it.
Yeah.
And that's what pissed me off about AA, right? I had all these old dudes that are, just don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck you. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I the beautiful thing about AA is that there were so many groups.
Yeah.
There were so many groups out there, because I've gone to groups and I'm like, didn't like this group. But you know what's happened is oftentimes I'd stop going to that group for a number of months and they'd come back and it hits me a different way.
Yeah, dude, totally.
You know,
yeah.
It's like I wasn't ready to hear that message. I had a guy one time, I was having a rough couple months. Went to this meeting, and this guy, he was like, Elliot, acceptance is our way. And And I got in my car and I verbally said, I was like, fuck you. Fuck you, dude. I said his name. I was like, fuck you, dude. And I thought about that for a while. It was acceptance. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, you don't know, it's like this whole like dialogue, right? Like, you don't know what I've been through. How can you know? How am I supposed to accept this thing that has occurred and happened in my life? And it took, I don't know, like probably like 4 or 5 more months for me to like actually accept it. And as soon as I accepted it, it changed.
Yeah, but
It passed. It's like what you resist persists, and what you let go of goes away.
what?
Dude, and that's the thing. This is something that, because I was really concerned about losing the spiritual direction of what we're doing with this. And this pastor sat down and told me this, and he said, somebody told me this once when I was in seminary school. But he's like, if you're taking credit for all the wins and not giving them to God, you're going to start to feel responsible for the failures.
Interesting.
Right? And I think that we can apply that to any area of our life, right? Like, our job is to show up.
Yeah.
Our job is to listen to that voice on the inside. It's not to figure everything out, right? It's just to act,
Yeah.
right? And to act in congruence with that voice inside of us. And so I think faith, dude, offers you peace, right? It offers you this thing of like, okay, well, I can't control that.
Yeah.
That one's up to God, right? Like, it's almost a cop-out a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've thought that too. Like, oh, that's a cop out, right? Like,
But
well,
at
you're
the
just
same
not going to
time,
take responsibility for
exactly,
anything.
but are you going to live with all of this fucking unneeded pressure?
Right.
Yeah,
Like, because that's the alternative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to cause you to spin and be anxious and depressed, and all of a sudden you can't solve the world's problems, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not your responsibility to.
No.
Your responsibility is to solve your problems.
Yeah.
To live your life as an example in congruence with what you believe in, and hope that people follow you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, dude. You don't believe in God? I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
that's
know?
fine. And I think I've come to the point, because I've seen online and I've met people that in recovery communities that say, I don't need God to do this. I did this all myself, and I've been sober 10 years. Congratulations.
Awesome,
That's
dude.
awesome.
That's amazing.
And it's not my place to tell people what they should or should not do.
I just have one question to those people.
It's not my place to, because that would be a form of control. If I said, well, you need to do it this way, it's working for you, but you need to do it this way. I just believe that we all are brought into this world as souls, and every soul has a journey that it must complete. And if we interfere with that journey, we are hindering people's spiritual growth, ultimately.
Hell yeah, dude.
Whether they see it that way or not, that's how I believe it. So I just let people believe whatever the fuck they want to believe, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. It doesn't. I care, but I don't. It's like, I don't even like saying it that way, because it's like, I respect your choice that you have made in your life.
Let me give you an analogy. And I just made this up, so maybe it doesn't make sense, but but it's like, if you get a call and you're like, I need you to come over right now to do this thing. Mm-hmm. You got to come over and do this thing right now, right? Like, you're like, oh, fuck, okay. It's like, I need help moving this couch. I need you, right? Like, come now. Or you get an invitation in the mail, to have a good time, right? To do that. Like, which one feels better, right? It's the same concept as anything that you're trying to sell, to pitch, to convince somebody else, right? It's like, hey, dude, I'm not trying to convince this for you. You can look at my life, and here are the things in my life that changed because of this action.
Yeah.
And if you want to experience that, I can show you how to do that.
Yeah. General Patton said, you cannot push a piece of spaghetti. You must get out in front and pull it.
Yeah. Dude,
the troops will not follow somebody who pushes.
Fucking
they
leadership.
will only follow somebody who leads from the front.
Lead by example.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's what I do for my children. It's what I do for my wife. It's what I fucked up for a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is my broken pane of glass that I get to slowly build back together, dude. And
Yeah.
not only is it a privilege, it's an honor.
Yeah. And you're going to cut yourself doing that. Yeah.
And probably cut other people a little bit too.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's part of the process. The thing at the end of the day that my family knows is that I love them and that I will live for them.
Yeah.
That I will do what it takes to live right for them. I'm not going to say I'll die for them. That's how Avery says that shit. I'm going to show up for my family.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live for them.
Yeah.
And dude, I see that all over you and through your recovery. And I just think this conversation, man, I've literally had goosebumps for like an hour and a half. Like, I don't know if this is healthy or not. Okay, so it's crazy, dude. The days that I'm like, I really don't want to go record are the days that just fucking, like, it just changes my whole perspective on
No,
everything.
it's like in early recovery or even now for me, it's like, I really don't want to go to that fucking meeting. And then you go and then you hear the thing.
Yes,
you know,
you're just like, so press into the thing you don't want to do. Dude, is there anything else that you want to add to your story? Like, I know that we kind of stopped and started to go into all of this, but I love what you said. Like, we go through the shit and then we just get into these conversations, you know, and this is where the growth happens, right?
Yeah.
This is where we're climbing the fucking mountain, dude. This is the grind. This is the grit, right? This is asking ourselves the hard questions, inviting the hard situations into our life.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing that hard things are going to create a better version of ourselves.
Yeah. Friction is growth, man. And like I'm in a place in my life. This is actually something this is like a streamer's tagline. He says, he streams video games. And, you know, when I first heard this, I thought it was funny, right? We're on top of the mountain, but we're only halfway up. That is such a profound saying in recovery,
Dude,
because it's like you feel like especially initially, I'm on top of the mountain, but realize you're only halfway there.
Well,
Because it's never a destination you're reaching, you're always getting to the destination.
Yep. And that's something that was a hard realization for me, because in my mind, you know, achievement was something that I could get to.
Right.
Right. Like, I could get to this thing, but dude, I've had to realize, like, nah, man, life is growth, period. It doesn't matter where you're at, you know, and I see it in people I'm surrounded with that are older than me too, you know, like even the seasons of life that they're in.
Yeah.
You know, there's an insane amount of challenges that they're going through. And so I think realizing that, dude, it doesn't stop until we die, you know, and it's our job to sow good until the day that we die, you know, and that's honestly kind of a hard realization, especially when we're constantly talking about retirement planning and, you know, all this stuff. And it's like, we are programmed to believe that there's a summit.
There's no summit.
There's no summit.
And especially in recovery, you're always going to be going as far as you can see, and then you'll see further. And that recovery isn't the goal. No, I got the ceiling falling off. Recovery isn't the goal. You know, recovery is the life.
Yeah.
And life is not a goal.
Yeah.
You can have goals in your life.
Journey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
and
have goals in your
definitely
life,
have goals.
100%. But like getting sober is not the goal. It's a place to reach, and once you reach that place of being sober, there is always more to dig into.
Yeah.
Because I feel blessed because of my addiction and my recovery. When I was in rehab, there was a class where we had to write a letter to our DOC. It was a breakup letter.
Damn.
And a lot of the people I was in treatment with said, screw you, whatever their alcohol, various drugs, you ruined my life.
Yours was a romance letter.
I wouldn't say romance, but I thanked it. I said, thank you. Thank you. You taught me how to talk to people. You taught me how to network. You taught me how to get out of my uncomfortableness of myself. But now that you have taught me those things, it is time that we part ways.
Bro, that's very profound. Like, seriously, you're flipping the whole thing on its head, right? And the difference between you and the other people that were just writing whatever it is, they were writing what they thought they should write, what other people thought they should write. They were writing what they thought people wanted to hear. You were writing something that came from your heart.
Yeah.
You opened yourself.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
and you allowed it to flow through you, and you're vulnerable.
yeah, because I do truly believe that, you know, like
I do too.
I really had a hard time when I was younger interacting with people. I tell people that and they don't believe me.
I can see that in you. You know, you definitely are a cerebral person. You know, and it's funny, dude. I think that everybody kind of go like, I got same shit. I was a skinny, like stick and bones kid, dude. And I know, looking at me now, it's amazing. But yeah, dude, it's weird, right? Like I definitely identify with that like person that's like, oh, I'm not good enough. You know, nobody likes me. You know, and I was always trying a little bit harder.
Yeah.
You know, to be recognized, to be seen, to be in the middle.
And it's such a deep topic for one to dive in with themselves of like, because as soon as you think you figure it out, it's like reading a book in knowledge, right? Like I was reading The Body Keeps the Score. It really, any book. It's like you discover this new wealth of information, this new gold mine. And it's over in like a couple minutes, a day. The next day you're like, now what?
Yeah, dude, and that's the thing. Like that's why I love how I was created. Mm-hmm. You know, yes, that I went through a lot of. I think the only thing I would go back and change is the impact that I had on other people negatively.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would change, because I know that there was a lot, and that really hurts to know that. You know.
Yeah. Well,
it is what it is, man.
I guess, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I would encourage you to go through the steps.
Yeah,
like do them, you know, and like really find, like the first thing is find a really good sponsor that you get along with and speaks your language. For me, I found a wonderful sponsor that is very worldly. He's very aware of other belief systems and other forms of thought. There are those sponsors who are big book thumpers. Now that might work for some people. That wasn't going to work for me.
Right.
I was extremely lucky. I got my first sponsor can talk to me in languages outside of just the big book and bring in other ideas and forms of thought.
Yeah. Dude, that's the thing, right? We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's enlightenment. It's education. Like you should go. And that's something in this new coaching program I'm in is like, no, dude, you want to be this, you want to be successful? Read books on how to be successful.
Yeah.
You know,
by people who have been successful.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of books out there that are just written to write a book. Yeah. Right? And that's
what you're talking like Napoleon Hill, you know, like people that, people that have been there, that have accomplished.
And ghostwriters are a big thing too. Make sure they actually wrote the book and just tell like somebody else to write the book for them with their name on it. This, I wasn't sure if I was going to include this, but I'll throw this in here real quick. There's like 4 pillars that I really try to analyze everything in my life with. And it's 4 rules. I pulled this out this is something I used to pull out at when I was drinking with people because it would just like, you know.
Okay, I'm excited now.
So the first one is, who do you listen to? You have to listen to people who have what you want and have been where you are. Those two are equally important, because if you listen to somebody who has what you want and they've been there, and they have what you want, but they haven't been where you are, it's not really applicable.
Right.
You know, so you have to listen to people who have what you want and have been where you are. The second thing is the 4 stages of learning. The first one is unconscious incompetence. It's when you don't know. You don't even know that it exists, right? It's ignorance. Zero idea. Everybody has that. Everybody's in that state at all times with something, because we don't know everything, right? The second stage is conscious incompetence. That's when you're exposed to something. You realize you don't know the thing, but you want to know more, right? And this ties into the first step. Mm-hmm. Learn from people who have what you want and have been where you are. So you start learning about the thing. You know consciously, okay, I don't know this, but I'm starting to get closer. The third step is conscious competence. That's when you know that you know the thing. When you know that you know the thing, that's when it starts to get a little more exciting, right? Because then you start to realize you don't have to think about it as much.
Or you can apply it.
Right. You can actively apply it in not just one way in your life, but multiple ways. And the fourth one is unconscious competence. You know it, and you don't have to think about it. What's your name?
Yeah.
How do you get home from here? You don't have to think about it. You just know. And that's like with anything that any individual across Earth is learning, you go through these 4 steps. It doesn't matter what it is.
That's
Everybody
awesome,
goes
dude.
through that
Yeah.
phase. There's 2 other steps. The training balance scale, it talks about how it's a deep topic, but I'll breeze over it really quickly. It's essentially that you have to get your thinking correct before you do. There's 2 sides of the scale. There's the doing, the action, and the internal world. And most people think I have to do the thing. I have to do the thing the most. When really it's the other way around. Because when you love what you're doing, you can do very little effort and get maximum results.
Right.
It's this way. When you're in a great state, when you're doing the thing, almost the action doesn't matter. It does to a certain degree, but it's like 1%.
Right. And the action becomes exciting.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the difference between passion and you know, just going through the motions, right? Like this is funny, like, and I think we should probably start to wrap this up, but
This might be our longest one yet.
yeah. Dude, I was fuck. Well, maybe we should just wrap this up. I've kind of got excited. That's gonna be a theme on this podcast. Like, we all have fucking ADHD like crazy.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I totally agree. And I love those for like knowing that, seeing that, like that's a very cool pathway, right? And how do you get to that place of unconscious competence,
Yeah.
right? Repetition.
And practicing correctly.
Right.
I remember the first time I was in some violin thing.
Yeah, you were telling us.
Yeah,
this
the guy
on the last
said
one.
you have to practice perfectly.
Right.
It's like, what the fuck?
Dude,
That's
and
why
it's
I'm
true.
practicing.
Well, and did you hear what the coach of Indiana, the Hoosiers, just got out and said? It was awesome, dude. And it was that, like, we practice like we play, and we apply these things, right? So that when we get into these situations, it's not a surprise. We're used to the pressure, right?
Yeah.
So we create the pressure. It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Just his outlook on, and their football program this year is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So anyways, but all right, so we started a segment, a little thing that we're going to keep doing at the end of everybody's episode. So we didn't do it with Elliot last week because we ended halfway through his story. But so if you guys remember, Dalton was on at the beginning of January. So we had him write down a question. Elliot does not know what that question is. Actually, he might. But the whole point is that the guest doesn't know what the question is. But since
I'm an
Elliot is
exception.
the producer,
I'm always
then,
here.
yeah, we kind of fucked it up. But so I'm going to ask Elliot the question. He's going to answer it, and then I'm going to have him write down a question for our next guest. So Dalton said, "What would you like your life to look like 1 year from now as a sober individual?"
I'll be honest, this one's challenging for me to answer because anything I say is a form of control.
Or okay,
So I think the only way to properly answer it, I mean, there's goals, right? Like I want to keep growing this podcast. There's some stuff that I want to improve on, like this wide angle here. I want it to be like as good as these 2 angles, and working on the computer stuff and making it more beefy so I can get these out faster, with higher precision. But the only way I can really properly answer this for me is just, I want to be content with what I'm doing, and I'm very content with what I'm doing now, but being content and happy coasting for too long is this, right? Like I have to keep pushing up that curve, and it's going to take more and more effort each time to push up. So I want to be content with what I'm doing. I want to have a healthy amount of chaos in my life. I want to have healthy, wonderful relationships romantically and with friends and family. I want to continue to help growing this place. Like this is a new business we opened in August.
Love Shack.
Yeah, Love
4th
Shack.
Street.
Yeah, and the owner has had he has done this for 3 years before opening this building. But this has become a mission of mine to grow this because I think it's so important to have a space like this. When I initially got sober, I started asking people, well, where do you meet people outside of the rooms, outside of the recovery rooms? And there was nowhere. But this is a space where people can come and meet other people, socialize, and still do the recovery thing, still talk about recovery, but it's not just recovery. You know, you can come here and shoot pool, you can come here and read and study and have a coffee, or
Dude, that's the quote, is the environment, right? It's a safe environment. It's a place that you don't have to go explain yourself.
No.
You know, people get it. And I that's why I love it here, dude. It's like a second home, you know? And I know that I'm not going to get anything but what I need in my life.
Yeah.
You know, right here. So I just want to plug, dude, Han is one of the coolest guys I've ever met. Very, very driven. Has amazing visions and missions. And I'm telling you, man, he's the kind of guy that could really bring cultural change.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if you're whatever you're. I'm super proud of him, and I can't plug Love Shack enough.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll have you write down your question. And again, I just want to say, I want to wrap this up again, and I just want to give it another shout out to Bjorn Anderson for 10 years, man. Like, seriously, that's so sick. And I hope that we get the chance to connect with you. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
I guess I would say, you know, Mitch and I have been talking about, like, what is the purpose of this podcast? And I think actually we went over it today, which was, I realized this when you were explaining that the guy that said, oh, I don't want to be labeled as a sober person, because there is a stigma behind it.
Exactly.
Right? Just like there's a stigma behind being an alcoholic or an addict. All of my friends are alcoholics and addicts now. Every single one of them. I joke around. I'm like, yeah, I hang out with crackheads all the time.
Right.
Because I do.
Yeah.
They're not actively smoking crack, but they are. And they're okay with that, you know? And I think the purpose of this podcast is to pull down the curtain of this stigma that society and what people who don't struggle with addiction, they can get a window into what this is by sharing our stories.
I agree.
With and being vulnerable with
dude, and that's the thing is, like, I mean, there's no shame, dude. Like, I know that you feel the shame and you have probably done some fucked up shit, but you know what? Point your finger at one human being on this planet that hasn't.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, there's one person that I know of in the history of humankind, you know? And so it's just, we're not God.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have grace on yourself, and you got to ask for forgiveness, you know?
And grace for others.
Yeah. And ask for help.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Ask, you know, you are not, you know, I would love to believe that somebody who is still in active addiction made it this far into this episode, because this is a long one. This one was a haul. Yeah. But if you are, congratulations. Thank you.
You get it back.
But also, you're not alone out there with this. You know, like early on when I was still in active addiction, I thought I was alone with this. I just felt like I couldn't talk to family because I really couldn't. Because, and God bless them, you know, like they tried, but they don't get it. You know, and it's like, well, you just need to stop. Well, oh shit, I wish I would have thought of that, you know, kind of a situation.
Totally.
It's stopping is the first step. Going within yourself and putting everything back together, and then being okay with that is the continuous life thing. And I think that's why addiction, I think in Cash's episode, I said, I think addiction is a gift for those who can sit down and really face the things inside of them, their own character traits, and really start digging deep and don't turn away from the void of yourself. That void will do two things. It will either absolutely eat you alive and dissolve you, or it will absolutely build you up and create incredible humans. Every single person I have met in recovery are amazing human beings. They have the biggest hearts. They're willing to do anything for each other. And fine line, they'll give themselves away. Now, that's not what we want, but they are just incredible people. They have such huge hearts, and and it's because they've walked through hell.
Exactly.
They are so compassionate towards one another and each other, and just even people outside of addiction, you know, and they're so incredibly driven.
Dude, you want to talk about authentic? They're the most authentic people you'll ever meet.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You know, they got nothing to fucking hide.
No. Yeah. No.
Nothing.
It's
So
true.
that's the thing. Like, you want to sit down and you want to get down to the nitty gritty, go find a recovering addict.
Yeah.
They'll fucking tell you what's up.
Yeah.
So I love this, dude. I love it. I love that's a long episode. I think it's cool because your passion is palpable, bro. Like, and I'm beyond grateful that you're a part of this with me. And I just, yeah, dude, like,
Oh, and thank you for setting all this up, and shout out to Aaron. You know,
Yeah,
thank
dude.
you. You've been a huge part of this as well
Yeah.
before I was a part of the picture. And, you know, you guys laid down the foundation, and then we were starting to build up the building now. So,
yeah, I feel like we've got the product and now we're going to sell it. So
yeah,
like, subscribe, follow, do all the things, click the buttons.
we're on top of the mountain, but we're only halfway up.
Only halfway there, baby. Well, guests, we love you. You're awesome. Keep fighting the fight. And yeah, if you guys want to reach out and share your story, we'd love to hear it. And, you know, anybody, we're building this for you guys, right? To share your platform, to share your story, to destigmatize this world, and to just open it up, man. So we love you guys. You're awesome. We'll see you next week.